Well, hey guys, I'm Lynn Hanson. I'm one of the pastors here at North Park Church, and I'm so glad to be sharing with you in our life groups this week. I'm so happy that you're part of a life group. Life groups are key. You know, they're the church. This is where church happens. It's where we care for each other, and it's where we really dig in and let the Holy Spirit and God work in our lives. And so, guys, it's great that you're a part of this. We're in this series called Breaking Bad. Actually, it's the last week of this series, Breaking Bad. And last weekend, we did the last of the weekend messages in the series. And these are the final life groups this week based on Breaking Bad. We call this series Breaking Bad because that's what we're talking about, breaking the bad in our lives, dealing with the stubborn darkness inside of us, the attitudes that we have, that if we were honest, we'd say they're so hard to get rid of. You know, I'd have to call it a stronghold. It's like a military stronghold inside of me. Well, what are those things? We always give you a list each week through this series. You know, self-worth, hatred, addiction, excuse-making, self-image. Those things are attitudes. They're strongholds that tend to make our decisions for us. And so, we're asking you to look at 2 or 3 of them and let God work on those things through this series. And hopefully you've been doing that. I've talked to a lot of people who are getting a lot of victory over these things. And so I hope that you're taking advantage of what's going on and how God is working as well. Well, the passage that we're looking at in our life groups this week digs a little bit deeper into this subject of breaking the bad in our lives by keeping control of new territory. So we've gone through the steps of breaking the bad in our lives, uprooting those attitudes and not letting them control us any longer. Now, how do we hang on to that? Because how often do we actually gain some victory and then something sneaks up on us and it's got us again? We've used the illustration of whack-a-mole where, that game where you're just trying to knock the mole down, and every time you do, another one pops up and you just can't seem to win. And that happens in our lives if we don't keep control of the territory that God has won in our lives. Those attitudes and strongholds, then they come back up again. And so that's what we're talking about. Now I'm going to tell you this great story. That's what this story is about from Judges chapter 2. I'm going to tell you this story, and then afterward you're going to need to listen careful, because afterward you're going to rebuild the story, retell the story. Here's how it goes. This is God speaking to the Israelites. Remember, the Israelites are His people, His called people, and at this time. And so this is what it says about that. The angel of the Lord went up from Gilgal to Bochum and said, I brought you up out of Egypt and led you into the land that I swore to give your forefathers. I said, I will never break my covenant with you, and you shall not make a covenant with the people of this land, but you shall break down their altars. Yet you have disobeyed me. Why have you done this? Now, therefore, I tell you that I will not drive them out before you. They will be thorns in your sides, and their gods will be a snare to you. When the angel of the Lord had spoken these things to all the Israelites, the people wept aloud. And they called that place Bochum. There they offered sacrifices to the Lord. Okay, it's a short, sweet story, but it's packed full of spiritual power, talking about hanging on to those territories, those places in our lives that God has won, and given us victory. So look at this story. It's a spiritual story. It's an example for us. And somebody retell that story from memory. Do the best that you can to retell that story. And then everybody else, whatever it is they missed, kind of keep track of that and retell the story, rebuild the story after they retell it. Go ahead, would you please? All right, guys, here's some discussion questions to start out with here. Again, remember that this is a great spiritual story that talks about what it means to hang on to those places that God gives us victory in our lives. Question 1, what strongholds have you sort of gotten on top of only to find out that it launched a surprise attack on you later? Maybe a successful surprise attack on you later. Go ahead and talk about that, would you please? Well, you might remember that all of these things happened, according to the Bible, all these things happened in the Old Testament, like we looked at today in Judges chapter 2. All of these things happened for us as examples. They happened to them, but they happened to them so that they could be examples to us. So that's the way that you want to view this, as an example to us. Question 2 then, with that in mind, what do each of the various characters symbolize in this story? What do they symbolize? The characters are, and let me just name a few. You have the angel of the Lord, you have the Israelites, Egypt. The covenant is one character. The covenant is a character. Their gods, the gods of the people of the land. What do those things symbolize? Okay, go through there and just discuss that with one another. Nobody hog the show here. Everybody put your ideas in about what it is that those things symbolize. Go ahead, would you please? All right, question number 3. What mistakes did God's people make in this story? Okay, simple question. Look through there, ask God to help you understand. And what mistakes did God's people make in the story? Second part of that question: what mistakes have you made in battling the strongholds in your life? Go ahead and talk about that, would you please? All right, guys. Now pray a moment to yourself and let the Holy Spirit work. Remember, silence is golden. It's fine. It can be quiet. It's okay. And so think about this. Pray about this a moment. Let the Holy Spirit work. Question 4. Why do your strongholds remain? Simple as that. Why do your strongholds remain? Go ahead, would you please? All right, guys, here's question number 5. This is the takeaway question, the walk-away question, the one that you really want to be sure that you're understanding what God is saying here. Question 5 is simply this: what is God saying to you through your life group this week? What is He trying to tell you? What does He want you to know? What does He want you to walk away with? Okay? Well, guys, that's your life group for this week. Thank you again for being part of it, and I'm so thankful for you. Guys, we'll see you soon.